answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Welcome, everybody. It is that time.
It is that time. It's that time for me to say I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
That's right. And we are the Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you right here on your
We're doing a
home
little
for
something
healthy
different today,
masculinity.
man. It might look a little different. I decided, man, I was going to jump ship on my old laptop and use my cell phone. I got a new laptop, thanks to you. You found me a good deal on one. I got a new one that's sitting right over here in the box. But I didn't want to take it out and play with it. So I decided, man, let me use my cell phone this time, man. See if we can have less lag time and all that kind of good stuff, man.
It's working brilliant right now. I'm excited because, I'm impatient. I like waiting. I want to hear what you got to say. So it's nice to have you right on there. Right on time.
Boom. I'm out in there, but see now I get to look over here at my laptop, and now I can share from my laptop. I'm looking at. Okay, yeah, this picture don't look too bad. Now I'm looking at my laptop, and I can share from my laptop over here. So if I'm looking this way, that's me looking at my laptop.
Hey, focus over here, man. Focus power.
No, man. I don't want to focus, man. I don't want to focus. I'm multitasking.
All right. Well, I know how you multitask, so let's intro this video because we just had our psychotherapist and relationship coach on Monday, and it was a subject I wanted to do before because it's something that's come up in my life quite a bit. But perfectionism, or the idea of perfectionism, is killing us, and especially in relationships. And it was interesting because even when she was asking me questions and I was thinking about it on the show on Monday, like I realized that I have left relationships because of my own perfectionism, because I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to say I was struggling. I didn't know how to say I was overwhelmed. And so since I wasn't perfect, obviously I was less than, so then I had to go. And with this topic, I started doing some research, and perfectionism is on the rise with social media, with how everything's going, and it's causing lots of depression, lots of anxiety, lots of things that are bad for mental health. And so having this episode and talking about perfectionism and how it affects our lives and how it affects those out there, hopefully can help some people to realize that you are perfect as you are, but it's your flaws, it's the unique things about you that make you perfect, not subscribing to the societal norms and the social media norms that are out there, because it's all those things, all these social norms and all these social perfectionisms and social media perfectionisms of curated streams and things that you think this is how you live your life and this is how you make yourself happy, is proving out to be quite the opposite.
She was man, she did a good job therapizing you, man. She was getting up in your junk, man. It really bought some stuff. I thought I was gonna have to give you a tissue after a minute, man.
There's a couple moments I'm like, don't go any further. Stop right there.
Don't push. It hurts right there when you push. Which is also why talking to somebody in therapy is great, man, because you do find out, where your vulnerabilities are, where your strengths are. You find out, areas where you might want to tighten up, and just a lot of ahas. And yeah, that was one of the things that kind of came up. I mean, the whole idea of going into something like dating and expecting kind of right out of the gate it to be all fireworks or nothing. Like, in other words, there's not room for somebody to have flaws, or just grace to be who they are, or just whatever. Like, it's 100% or nothing. And maybe that is a cultural thing, man. Maybe we are trying to live up to some standard that's not even realistic, not even for ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's something that's been growing over the years, and then with the inundation of social media and stuff, it's just getting exponentially worse because now we have all of these, all the girls got to have J-Lo booties, and you got to have this curated social media stream to show this is how you're happy, and you got to have all this material stuff. And like when we had the guys from 99 Hearts and Ezra was talking about, it's the service mindset. It's getting out there and having somebody that relies on you, like whether it's horses or family or kids or whatnot. That's what brings you the most happiness and fulfillment. But when we focus so much on perfectionism, and perfectionism is basically, um, was it Sisyphus, the guy that had to push the boulder up the hill? I mean, it's basically that sort of hell that you put yourself in when you have that perfectionistic mindset, because it's never good enough. And finding a way to accept who you are and love your flaws, knowing that's what makes you perfect and that's what's going to make you perfect for somebody else, especially in relationships, because most of us will demonize ourselves. I know I'm a great example where I put more pressure on myself to be this perfect example. And especially doing a show like this and trying to be masculine and caring and loving and trying to check off all those boxes. Now, granted, some of them I can't check. I'm not 6 foot. I don't have $1 million yet, all these different things, but looking at yourself as a person who is perfect in their imperfections, and all the coolest people, when we look about it, I mean, you think about it, and look out in the world, the coolest people are the ones who embrace their imperfections, embrace their creativity, embrace what makes them who they are. But then we have this other voice that's just being thrown at us and all from all directions saying, "Oh no, you got to be just like this. You got to be just this way, and you got to have this income and these toys and this materialism and this big house, and that'll make you happy." But then the evidence shows out that that's not true, because those people who get those things end up just as miserable as everybody else.
When you look at the gem, the GEM that you are, the fine stone, there was when you go to the jewelry store, you don't find a jewelry store full of perfect diamonds. As a matter of fact, all of them are flawed. Um, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm remembering something wrong, but maybe there was like one what they consider a perfect diamond found somewhere in history, whatever, the Hope diamond or something like that. I don't know. But even that's named Hope. But the point is, you know, even in the finest of jewelry, the finest of diamonds, there are flaws, but in actuality, those flaws bring out the light. Those flaws are the refractions. Those flaws, the facets of the diamond is what makes the light shine through the diamond in a unique way, and that's why there's no two that are exactly alike. And so when we look at our flaws as that's how light shines through me uniquely, so that the world can see that uniquely and the world can see the uniqueness of me. And when you look at that as a gift, now that doesn't mean that there aren't ways that we can improve ourselves or things that we can learn and grow and all those things as human beings. But in terms of your heart, your nature, your core, who you are at any given moment, those flaws kind of make you unique and make you gifted and make you shine in a way that nobody else could. And that's the same thing for other people around us, even other people that we may be in a relationship with, other people that we may be seeking a relationship with. That brings that person some level of uniqueness. And when you accept your flaws, when you accept the facets in your stone as part of who you are, then you can accept those same things in somebody else and you can give them grace for the fact that they have flaws and facets of themselves. And you can even love the unique way that light shines through them. You can love the flaws in who they are. And, I think maybe there's at some point where it's like, okay, like, all right, there's a limit to that whole thing. There's levels to this thing, right? I mean, like for real, there's some things that's like, okay, that's a red flag right there. That ain't no flaw. That's a fracture. Um, and you in pieces right now, right? So, but either way, I think, when you accept your flaws, you can more easily give somebody else grace for the flaws that they have in them.
Yeah, I think there's a spectrum to it where there are your innate flaws, the things that make you unique, and then there are traumas and there are things that make you broken. And I think for most of us nowadays, it's the striving for perfection and ignoring the traumas, ignoring the fact that we need help and we need therapy and we need to talk to somebody about it, so that we can actually highlight what makes us unique and what makes us that person that somebody would love because of, not despite of, but because of those things that make us unique and what we might consider flaws. It's the little things about people that make them real, the little flaws that you like. I mean, to quote, what was it, Robin Williams' character Sean in Good Will Hunting, it's the little picadillos, the little flaws that you learn over time with somebody are the things you learn to love, are the things that make them your person, because you know all those things about that person. And if you're unwilling to show those things, and I know this is one of the things I've been guilty of for most of my relationships, is that I tried to be perfect. I tried not to show any flaws, any emotion, any imperfection. And then what ended up happening was I became so overwhelmed and so loaded down that instead of asking for support and ask for help, I would just leave, because I'm like, well, obviously I'm not perfect enough yet. Obviously, I'm not the one for this person because I'm having issues or I'm overwhelmed and I can't handle this. And that's just part of growing in life. And there's no way for us to be perfect. But the whole idea of perfect really is skewed, because the perfect that we're seeing that's being pushed on everybody isn't about being unique, isn't about being who you truly are. It's about kowtowing and subscribing to whatever the narrative is. And that's making us less happy. It's making us more depressed. And the whole idea of trying to be perfect comes with perfection, or it becomes with depression. Just trying to be like, because we all know we're imperfect beings. We're, infinite spiritual beings in a finite physical body trying to do the best we can. And we don't know everything. And there's no way to know everything. And so there's no way for us to quote unquote be perfect. But we can take the time to know ourselves and express who we are, and maybe even shine that out so that those around us can see who we are, and decide for themselves if we're their cup of tea. But we're so afraid of the rejection, especially as guys today in dating. There's such a laundry list. I was watching some TikTok before we got on, and there was a lady who wrote a book, and she was talking about in the dating world how, if she asked if you could get 80% of your perfect partner, or 80% of the things you want in your partner, would that be enough? And the guys were like, 80%? Are you kidding? That's a catch. That's more than enough. And the ladies were like, 80%? No, that's settling. And then she was asking about, like, what are the things that would make you not want to have a second date with somebody? And the guys were like, oh, there's these three things. She's got to be cute enough. She doesn't have to be J-Lo or Beyonce or whatever. She's got to be cute enough. She's got to be kind and respectful and loving. And, one other thing. And, oh, she communicate well and be interesting. But then the ladies had a list of 300 things, like, oh, he wore a brown belt with black shoes and all this other stuff. And so it's part of that perfectionistic mindset where we're nexting what could be a potential great match in so many ways, because we're looking for this perfect thing. And like, even on the show on Monday, I was kind of joking. I'm like, yeah, I want my unicorn and my perfect soulmate and my da 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 da. But that's kind of how we're seeing out in the world today. Everybody's like, oh, if they're not perfect, they're out of here. And then all of us are lonely and separated and isolated and wondering why.
Um, when you talk about the looking for that perfect person, and the perfect person for you are probably two different people. I mean, the quote unquote perfect person, and when I say you, I'm talking you universal. That quote unquote perfect person is probably based off of a standard that is unrealistic. It's probably based off of a social media standard in terms of what my life is supposed to look like. It's probably based off of a porn standard of what my sexuality and my body is supposed to be like. Is probably based off of what Hollywood or the media says success looks like in business and in life and all these other kind of things. And none of that stuff is unrealistic. But the perfect person for you is, somebody that you can meet with. Both the yin and the yang are imperfect shapes, right? I mean, they got little fat heads and skinny tails, right? But when you put them together, they form like that perfect circle. And as a matter of fact, there's a little bit of each inside the other one. When you take a jigsaw puzzle and you dump out the box, it's all these weird zigzaggy shapes and all this other kind of stuff. And then when you begin to set the edges and then start to fill in the pieces and the spaces, and eventually you start to fill it in to the point where you see the big picture coming together, where it looks like none of these things should fit together, but in actuality, this one actually only fits with this one, and that one over there only fits with that one over there. But when you do enough of that over the course of the journey of putting that thing together, then you realize there's a whole picture in there that you couldn't see because you were only looking at the pieces. And when you look at the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, you never get to reveal the big picture unless you look at the box, right? And so, what is your box? You Universal, whoever it is, what is our box? Well, what are we comparing to? Because perfection, to some degree, is a comparison to something else. And so, we got to look at what our standard is in terms of what our perfection is. Guess what? If you have a certain age, you're not going to have a body like somebody 20, 30 years younger than you. You're not going to have a smooth forehead, ladies. If you have a smooth forehead and you're 50 years old, I mean, that's suspect, right? I'm like, that's, to me, that's like, okay, somebody's compensating for something here. And what else are you hiding? And there's so many other things. If you a guy and you got a whole lot of things supposedly going on, and I'm like, okay, come on, man. If you're telling me you're not healing some kind of a wound from your childhood or fatherhood or something like that, I'm like, man, you probably overcompensating for something. So we got to be careful about what we're comparing it to, what we're comparing something to in the journey towards quote unquote perfection.
Yeah, I like that point because what we aspire to and usually what we're aspiring to, like to your point, is a marketed image that is given to us. And you made me able to speak to this as well, because a lot of times the perfect person for you, the one that's going to match you, one that's going to be that yin to your yang, when you first meet them, you may not be like, oh, bells and whistles and the perfect person and all stuff like that. It takes time to get into the minutia and get to know their flaws and realize, oh, I like that flaw about her. I like that flaw about him. I like that thing. And it makes me love them even more. It makes me feel more connected to them. But we don't chase that because we're given all this other false information that perfection looks like 6 foot tall and six figures and da da da. And for guys, it's like she's got to look like, smooth forehead and 20 years old and yada yada yada. But those are such superficial things when it comes to relationships. But the biggest thing is, if you know you're perfect for each other, is can you work together? Can you communicate? And do you have a similar life path that you want to go towards? 'Cause so many times we get into these relationships where we think they're perfect because they meet some sort of arbitrary list, this checklist that, oh, they this tall and they got to make this much, they looks a certain way. But then you get into a relationship and realize you can't work with that person because you don't have a compatible set of skills, or you don't have a compatible personality set. And then you wonder why, well, they were perfect. Why isn't it working? Well, maybe they weren't perfect for you. It's just like, I'll quote the movie again, Good Will Hunting. He's like, I hate to break it to you, you're not perfect, and neither is the girl that you're in love with, but maybe they're perfect for you. Maybe you're perfect for each other. But there's only one way to find that out. And I hate to tell you, because I don't like to hear it. It takes time and work. It takes time and effort. It takes time to communicate and work through those things to realize that those flaws are the gold nuggets that you're looking for that you didn't even know you're looking for.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a pause for the cause right here and just shout out some of the sponsors we got, man. We got a couple sponsors in the queue right now. Castle Rock Men's Health Office in Parker and Castle Rock, Colorado. They can do it all in mail. And then our man, Barry L. Overton, realtor, real estate guru extraordinaire, our guy, man. Check him out if you anywhere in the Denver area. But I just wanted to shout out them, man, because to us, they are perfect. But 30 days ago, I married somebody that almost 4 years ago I thought was a joke when I met. Like, come on, man. Like this chick, come on, man. She ain't, all right, we hang out for a little bit, whatever. But I didn't take her seriously at all, man. And turned out like this person she's the yin to my yang, man. And on the surface, you look at the stats or whatever you want to call it, you look at the measurables or just whatever, man. And I'll tell you, and I've said it to you. That's what you hinted about a minute ago. I said it to her even that when we first met, man. I was chasing that what you would call perfection, and it didn't work out over and over and over again because I was realizing that perfection that I was chasing, was something unrealistic. And the women that I met that kind of felt in that space, or that I thought was in that space, they were basket cases, man. They were just all surface and no depth. I mean, they were a hot garbage, man. I mean, and I'm so thankful none of those things worked out. And so, I mean, one of the things I've been kind of secretly insecure about since I was 18 is I got a little gap in my teeth. And I had braces when I was a teenager. Then when I went to boot camp, I had to get the braces taken off. And so I never got them put back on. I never got to get it, fully corrected and stuff. So that was kind of always one of the things like, man, when I show up, as good looking and as handsome as I am, I always was kind of insecure about my smile. Turns out, man, after dating her for a while, one day she's like, I really like the little spaces in your teeth. They're so cute. And I mean, she was just all over that thing, man. And I was like, all right, okay. It's just little stuff like that, man. And that's an example of what you were just kind of hitting at. But a lot of times I think it really comes down to what it is that we're chasing in terms of the comparison. And again, I think in a highly over sexualized, over cosmetized society, we tend to put a whole lot of focus on the surface things and not a whole lot of focus on the depth. And we get more wrapped up in the fireworks than the campfire.
Yeah, I think we're so trained to nowadays, especially with social media, the curated pages and feeds, to use the filters and whatever we can to put our best foot forward. And I like the idea. I love the idea you came up with. We need to come up with the truth app. We need to have a dating app where it's like, here's my traumas, here's my personal development work, here's the therapy, like here's my stuff. And can you deal with that? And instead of looking for perfect, I think nowadays it would be a rebellious act. It would actually even be a more unique thing to talk more about the flaws and the things that are not perfect about us, so that the other person can decide if that works for them, and maybe they'll fall in love with you because of, not in spite of. I mean, and that's what I keep hearing from all the people who've been in these long-term relationships, and and they keep finding that love together. It's like, it's always the little things, the things that nobody else knows about, the things that only I know as their partner, the little flaws and imperfections are the things I love the most. And it reminds me of that Japanese tradition of, like, they break the cup and then they fill the gaps with gold, and they highlight the imperfections, they highlight the cracks. And I think that's something we, as a nation, as a community, as a world, should start highlighting the flaws, highlighting the things that make us unique. And I know it's frightening, it's scary, because all we see is rejection, rejection, rejection for any little thing, but it comes from the fear. And that fear comes from the fact that we have this perfectionistic mindset that we've been ingrained in and that we've been taught that we have to be perfect, knowing deep down that we're not perfect. But maybe if we would accept our flaws and accept ourselves and realize that however tall I am, however big I am, whatever my IQ is and whatever my job is, that's perfect. That's exactly who I am, and that's exactly who I should be. But we're so busy judging ourselves and demeaning ourselves that we go out in the world in fear of other people judging us for the same things we're judging ourselves for. So it comes back to self-compassion and self-love, and letting go of perfectionism. I think when you actually find self-love, when you find self-compassion, when you find what makes you unique and why you are who you are and why you came on this earth to be here, and what your purpose is, then you'll find the perfection that you were looking for on those outer things inside yourself. But because we're also fearful of the judgment of others and being canceled and whatever, we don't even give other people the opportunity to see who we really are. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. Like, I don't want people to see me struggling and in pain and in fear. I don't want people to see me having imperfections. I want to be as good as I can be, and as perfect, quote unquote, as I can be. But that's just not who I am. That's not who any of us are. We're imperfect human beings.
I'm just reminded of something. We adopted a son, RJ, my former wife and I. And when we went through that adoption process, we adopted through the foster care system here in the Denver area. And I remember when we were in that process, um, they don't show you a picture of the kid until you agree to begin the process of bringing that kid into your home. They sit you down, they bring you in, and they might call you and they might say, hey, we have a 6-year-old boy, and they'll give you some high level info. He's been in foster care for X amount of time, he's legally free for adoption, all these other kind of things. And then they give you just enough information for you to decide, do you want to come in and actually open up the books and see everything that they have. And if you get, the highlight reel and you say, yep, we'd like to look more, then they bring you into the office and then they literally open up the file that they have on this kid or kids if it's a sibling group, and they show you everything that they know about the kid. I mean, background history, family history, behavioral history, medical history, all that stuff. And then you leave, and then when you say yes, then you contact them again and say, yeah, we want to pursue this thing. Then they show you a picture of the kid, and the reason they don't show you a picture of the kid up front is because they don't want you looking at this stinking cute little kid that's going to burn your house down when he moves in. They don't want you to fall in love with a kid that's going to come in with all these traumas and all these things that you can't handle in your life that you're not okay with, and then have a failed placement. And so, back to the whole idea of that truth dating app, and a couple of reality TV shows have kind of tried this a little bit, but what if you get all the stats, you get all the information, you get all that kind of stuff, and you don't exchange, pictures. There's no profile pictures until you agree, and until you check, you read that, check, and I'm good with all those kind of things, and then it opens up and you can actually see pictures of the person.
I dig that. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the genesis of the idea. Is like, why are we so focused on the superficial when the superficial is not what makes a long-term relationship work? It's the flaws, it's the personal things, the unique things that actually shows you who the person is that maybe you can work with, and that maybe they're compatible with you. Maybe they're not perfect, but they're perfect for you. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like that idea. Like, show all the stuff and then go, okay, are you okay with that stuff? Now you can see a picture. Then you go, okay, am I attracted to him? Am I not attracted to him? But you
Right.
already know all the inner true stuff. So yeah, I kind of dig that, because I mean, I think something like that would be revolutionary nowadays, because it's everything's so curated, everything's so filtered and stuff. And I mean, I even joked about it on last show. It's like the filters and the angles and the pictures. I mean, ladies are amazing at taking pictures online. Then you see them in person as a real person. You're like, oh man, now I feel like I've been gaslighted or catfish. And it's like,
Yeah.
why not just be upfront? Because your big booty is what some guy's looking for. But if you don't show it, you're missing out on that guy.
And the more I think about the whole idea, I'm thinking, man, if you're able to do that, where you check off, that you've read basically a waiver or a claimer in user licensing agreement or something like that, that yeah, I accept, and you click that, and then maybe you don't even see a picture of them. Maybe the first thing that happens is like a video chat, so you see them right now, or you see them today, and maybe you want to plan on when that is, so that yeah, because let's not do that at 7:30 in the morning, or whatever. Let's do that when I'm ready, kind of thing. But you get to see who that person is, like today, and you get to see that they don't, because now what we do is the opposite. We literally just swipe on a picture. We literally just swipe on one picture, or we see a whole page full of pictures and faces, and we say, "Ooh, okay, I want that one." Like we in a Montgomery Ward's, catalog or something like that. Trying to pick out what Hot Wheels track we want. It don't work that way, man. It just don't work that way. And so, but these are the kind of things that are counter the whole perfectionist kind of mentality. But we do have a sense of perfection, even for ourselves. We don't give ourselves grace to be human, grace to fail, and we don't give ourselves grace to not be perfect. We're supposed to be living up to something. Most of us didn't have perfect families or perfect parents, but a lot of us are trying to be perfect parents, and be loved and liked by our kids all the time, and have these perfect households and all this other kind of stuff, and it just ain't realistic.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that with the truth dating app, because I've seen several, and I mean, I've talked about it myself. Like, sometimes the most attractive people on the dating app, when you actually meet them, they're shallow. There's no depth, and then you find out they're not good at, maybe they're not good in bed, or maybe they're not good at dancing, or maybe they're, just awful people, but they look so good. And I think maybe it's time for us to look past that and realize that if somebody is showing their imperfections, they're showing their depth. They're showing their depth of character, and they're being courageous. And so it's not about the filters and the flat foreheads and all of these, angles and stuff. But how about we show some reality? How about we show who we really are? And maybe by showing who we really are as scary as it is, it shows the courage, and it shows that we're moving away from this perfectionistic mindset. And then maybe we actually have an opportunity to find somebody who likes us for who we are, because all of these filters and all the Botox and all the different things are covering up the true person inside. And you can't get to that true person until you go through all that stuff. You go through all the surface level stuff to find out who that person is. And most of the time when you go through all that stuff, you're disappointed because they didn't show you who they really are. Maybe it's time for us to be more courageous and just show who we really are.
And maybe somebody likes somebody with some cosmetic procedures, but maybe that should be one of the sections that you got to sign off on the app. Like, yeah, I'm okay. I've had this procedure, that procedure, whatever. And, somebody say, okay, I'm cool with that, whatever. So anyhow, it sounds like we need to get to work on some app development.
All right. All our IT buddies, give us a call. We got a new app idea.
Holla at us.
Is gonna, it'll probably be a slow start, but I think it'll gain traction exponentially because when people realize it works, because you're being real, the Real Truth app, the Real Truth dating app, we're going to bring that out for y'all. But until next time, make sure you like and subscribe. You love us, you hate us, let us know, because we're here for the real thing. And until then,
madmenradio.com, holla at your boys, let us know, man. Talk to us. What do you think? You agree, disagree? Put a comment on this thing. We'll see it. We'll holla back at you. Maybe we'll be lucky enough that somebody tries to cancel us. I don't know. But either way, until next time, we will holler at y'all. And with that, Mad Men are out.